Okay, set the scene for me, guys. All right, this is fun because Métis Crossing has started now to expand this camp initiative. We're getting full on summer camps now, and I'm curious because I've never had the pleasure to go out there before. So help me out here. What is the first thing I'm going to see when I arrive at Métis Crossing? What does it look like on a beautiful summer day, and you're ready to have an awesome day?
There's a lake.
A river. The river, right? The North Saskatchewan River.
One building that says Métis Crossing.
Yeah. And what kind of stuff do you get to do? Like, so do you get to spend a lot of time by the lake, by the river? Are all the fun activities happening inside that building?
Yeah.
What's your favorite thing to happen inside that building? Like, what's the coolest thing? I've just arrived at camp and you're like, Ryan, you got to come over here. You got to do some crafts. What's going on?
The steak.
Steak, the food.
Steak. Okay, well, that's a good default to go to. I would say steak is a good choice there. Christina, Peter, for you guys, like what's that feeling when you drive up and you get to see that place, in the summer? Is it just like a very welcoming, peaceful place?
Yeah, I think that when I kind of pull up to Métis Crossing, it's always so unexpected to me. You're sort of on a fairly quiet highway. You cross a bridge to get to across the North Saskatchewan River, and then you sort of take your first right, and then you pull up to this very, very beautiful big building. Just an incredible background, incredible setting, but the building is really very impressive. It's beautiful architecture, very well designed in terms of fitting into the landscape very, very nicely. So it's just very impressive kind of building to pull up to. To me, it feels very aligned, very natural. It feels very peaceful, which is really nice. Similarly, when you go into the main building, first kind of thing you see is, first of all, you're greeted by some pretty amazing, friendly, kind people. And then there's the sort of the gift shop / craft area. And so it's just sort of got some, beautiful indigenous Métis art and pieces of heritage, things like that.
Stuff you want to take home with you, not just memories, but actual stuff you want to take home with you and set up on the shelf. What made you want to come back here, guys? I mean, like, is you just had the best time ever and you just had to come back? Or did you not get enough and you need more? Like, what is it for you?
The playground.
Playground? What about archery?
Yeah.
You got to do archery? Come on, how cool is that?
Good.
Do you remember when we did the Meet the Métis and we got to go on the... Can you tell us a little bit? Remember when we got to use the fire starters and we got to go do snaring and all that kind of stuff? Can you tell Ryan a little bit about all that? Do you remember that? Just tell him the things we tried. Okay, well, we tried some things.
We tried to start a fire, but they need new ones, and they got new ones.
Not helpful.
I really like from a bringing your kids' perspective is when I think about family camp, it's like these experiences that I wouldn't be able to give my kids by myself. Like if we've gone on lots of family trips where, okay, we go to a cool hotel and you experience a nice beach and the wilderness is beautiful and maybe you have a nice, surrounding, but, to be able to now go on a signature experience from Métis Crossing and experience something different. So, again, this was a wintertime visit, one of the ones we did, but we did meet the Métis or, trudging through the snow in our capotes. And then all of a sudden we're in, having this conversation with one of the Indigenous elders there. And they're telling us about how, things were on this river many, many years ago and how they would get their animals and how, what they would use things for. And you're walking through a forest and you're right. We saw a bunch of stuff on trees and you're understanding, okay, this is what they'd use for a salve. And this is, these aren't edible or this is edible, things like that. And then remember, boys, we went into the red barn after and we got to see all of the animal pellets and we got to touch them and we got to understand the history a little bit more. And again, it's just a different family experience. There's lots of 3-day things you can do, but this was jam-packed full of activities to keep us busy. But then 2, we all walked away learning something.
And you're right. It's the kind of knowledge that you don't just get when you're sitting in a classroom on a Monday. It's the kind of stuff that really you take home with you. You tell stories about it years later. My grandpa did a lot of work with Indigenous people when he was still alive, and that's how I learned so much about their people, their culture, and it really opened my eyes to a lot. And I'm really grateful that he took me to very similar sort of camps and places in Ontario when I was living there. Because those experiences, they stay with you. They really do. I'm curious, for me, when I was a kid going to summer camps, there was this woman named Julie. She ran the camp, and Julie Hartley, she changed my life. And one of the things she did, it's simple, was story time. And I'm talking like not when I'm 8 years old, like or a kid, 5, 4, no. Full teenager, almost adult, lying on a gymnasium floor. And this woman commanded 100 people to just sit and listen and hear an amazing story. Irish folklore about giants and wizards and castles, the kind of stuff is so cool, right? I'm curious for you at Métis Crossing, this is the kind of place where, storytelling is paramount to Indigenous people and culture. Is there like a Julie at Métis Crossing? Was there a storytelling moment, or are you hoping to have that this summer?
Do you guys remember when Lily Rose was telling us about the stars?
Yeah. And that big telescope thing.
Yeah, talk about that a little bit.
So it like zoomed right up to the moon. It was like.
And
so
what
we
did
told
you do?
stories
What did
under
you...
the moon about Lily Rose was telling us stories outside under the moonlight. Keep telling them. Okay.
Shy today. We're shy today.
That's all right.
Do you want to talk about your steak and your food?
I like that food.
But talk more about it. So do you remember that experience where we
Ate
But where did we eat?
in a place.
A trap. Do you remember eating in a trapper's tent?
Can it be a purple tent? No.
You don't remember that?
I don't remember.
Was it two?
No, this was not long ago.
It was so good though that you remember, like of all the things, you remember how good it tastes. Like you go in this year, is your mouth already watering for the steak? Because I know mine would be.
No. Do you guys remember the bunk beds?
Well, that's the best part of summer camp. Best bunk beds. I love it. Yeah. What was that like?
It was like a bed with a ladder, and then like the ladder go to the high thing, and then the ladder, and then a smaller one, and then I sleep on the top.
You get the top bunk. Did you have to like have some negotiation tactics to get the top bunk, or you just jumped up there and took it?
No, so I fell off beds all the time.
So it was a safety thing. Okay, that's smart. My brother and I also went through a similar thing, although I definitely prefer the bottom bunk so that I wouldn't fall out. So I think I'm on your side, bud. I think I'm on your side. How it seems though that you, as a family, you guys take a lot from this. How has Métis Crossing and this camp like increased your connection to Métis culture? Like, what are you taking home from you with this trip, and like, what's new each year?
How good they make the beds.
They want it to be as comfortable as possible and make you just relax and enjoy the experience. Absolutely.
We saw chickens and buffalo. Goats ran each other. And we went on this thing where I was taking, and there was cruises, and then we
What about, so we got in the truck,
yeah,
and then where they took us out to the buffalo.
and then
What did you see? Like, how close were you to those buffalo?
The room, yeah, like the room length.
Bart, why don't you talk about
Pretty
you remember
close.
seeing the buffalo, right? How close were we when you unrolled the window and they were like right there, right?
Well, those were the wild horses.
Wild horses
The
too.
wild horses lick our They stuck their heads in the window, and then
Okay.
for the buffalo, they were pretty scared, but we got pretty close.
Do you remember the elk too?
Yeah, the elk were just, so our car was smarter. They stopped the car, so it was so the elk would get close and gallop close to the car, but the other people were driving still, and then they drove past us, and then the elk were just prancing around us.
What was your favorite animal to see up close like that? Which one were you like, oh, look at that. Oh, how cool is that?
The horse, when they stuck their tongue out.
Yeah, that's pretty great. They're pretty funny.
Yeah, I like the buffalo.
Yeah, the buffalo are really cool, and the connection with the Métis and Indigenous with the buffalo and the history there is so much to learn. And I think the more years you go back, the more you'll learn. It's cool. It's going to stick with you. Just wrapping up here, do you feel a sense of stronger connection to the Métis, to Indigenous people after being able to go have this experience earlier, like last year and now this year? Do you feel that connection a little bit deeper, a little bit stronger?
One bit.
You gotta say a word.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes that's all it takes. It's just a yeah. It's just a yeah. What
I
about
think
for you? You
yeah,
too?
there's this like, the hands-on pieces and the realization, I think, of how hard they work. So one of the things, and Bartek, maybe you can speak to this too, is when you made your pouch. So we sat in and elderly Rose showed us how to sew pouches and had a whole conversation around kind of the materials they used to use and what they would use them for. And Bart, that was your first time sewing, wasn't it?
Really?
No, I sewed at school before.
But your first big project you did?
Yeah, I can get mine.
Yeah, go grab it.
Yeah, I'd love to see it.
Yeah.
And when you did the little dots, do you remember that? The dot painting ornament?
There's too much happening,
Peter, why don't you talk about your experience?
I think for me, every time I go to Métis Crossing, I get a sense of like understanding and appreciation for the place. It's just a place where Métis Crossing is. You can kind of really envision how life would have been and why that is where it is. And you can sort of get an appreciation for this spot. It's kind of hard to describe unless you're actually there. But when you're there, you can really feel it. And it's sort of like, oh, I get it. I understand why people settled here, and I understand why trading happened here. And you can sort of see the way the river is and the way the river curves and the way the banks are and the flat areas and stuff. And it sort of makes sense, right? And it's pretty cool. And you get this kind of feeling, like you do very much get a very strong connection to the place. I don't know. I personally do. It's a little bit undescribable, honestly. You have to kind of be there and experience it to really to kind of feel it, but it's there. So there's, you go to places like that and you sort of kind of just understand why it's a special kind of spot.
Yeah, I'm a little jealous. Yeah, let's see. You made that? That's amazing. That looks fantastic. So like how long did that take though? Did that take like a week, or did you do that in a day?
A couple minutes.
Okay. Oh, now you're just bragging. That's amazing part. That's so cool. Like, I'm so happy to hear that you guys get to do that hands-on. That's the stuff that you'll, one day you're going to open a box when you're moving like I am right now and find and have a little memory to something that you did years ago when you were a kid. That's amazing. So yeah, Métis Crossing, call to action. We're like, here we go, everybody. Like, this is it. Families, take a look. Book now. It's open. It's available. I mean, as you guys as a family, what would be your biggest piece of advice for any family who's considering doing this and going to Métis Crossing for the summer?
I liked when we went on that thing because I learned how to trap a squirrel.
Trap a squirrel. There you go. So I feel like your takeaways are you learn a new perspective. Like, you didn't know people used to have to hunt animals on that river, right? Yeah. Something.
Stay for the archery and sleep in the domes.
Nice.
Good tip.
Yeah, the domes are pretty cool. My advice, I think, for people would be to come with a very open mind. I think there's a lot to experience and a lot to see and a lot to learn. More than meets the eye, I might just say. So, there are experiences there. There are things to do that are, pretty unique, pretty neat. And so, like the sort of going on the trap line as an example is a very, very cool experience. And it really kind of grounds you very, very much to the place. And so I think if you have an open mind of just going to experience as much as you possibly can, there's a lot to take away from the place.
Yeah, I'd agree. And I think too, it's like that. Be comfortable with being uncomfortable. I think at one point we all got a lesson in jigging. So you kind of put your maybe comfort by the door and you're all just laughing and having fun. And, again, these workshops and cultural experiences that we did. I'd say too, what's really nice is that, it really is a time to to disconnect. Like you are, you're truly going out into nature, and the phone is not a thing. You're really immersed in everything around you, and you can just be with your family and do something that you haven't done before, whether it's being beside a buffalo in a car, or shooting arrows, or sewing, or having a great steak. It just really is that quality family time. And I feel like, Peter, for you and I too, there was one evening where we just got to kind of sit back and relax and watch the kids play on the playground, which is like a really cool little structure. It's not your typical playground, and the lodge has some really great spots where you can be sitting out on your back patio and in kind of shouting distance from your kids. So you kind of get that perfect world of relaxation with your spouse, but also your kids are having a blast somewhere safe too.
That's
I will
awesome.
say it is a very, very relaxing kind of place. Like you can't help but after a couple days there not just feel completely relaxed. And again, sort of just kind of in tune with nature. It's just the kind of place that it just kind of happens if you go there and you let it happen. So I think that's kind of what I mean with having an open mind, right? Put your phone away, be prepared to just enjoy. You're gonna just be very relaxed after.
I'm a little jealous. I got to be honest. This sounds pretty great for a little weekend getaway, but yeah, I mean, it worked. Well done.